We're back.
All right.
We're back.
Back to regular programming. What version of Candice have you seen that you either need to unlearn or that you need to continue to build on?
How honest do you want me to be?
Girl, this is the place where we are
Fully untapped.
Listen.
I started from scratch because I'd already seen facets of who I was becoming that was steering me away from my destiny.
Where I'm going or where I need to be and the real me is worth what I'm going through right now to let go of the old.
There's a new seed that gets planted and deposited in every single experience. Open yourself up and open without complacency.
I'm fighting. Every day I'm fighting.
Hands.
Yes.
The length, the depth, and the breadth of the love that I'm feeling and experiencing now came at a very broken place in my life.
Wow.
I can't wait to look back on this episode and be so grateful. And why am I emotional now?
Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of According to Be, the podcast where we talk all things life, love, and everything in between. According to me, B, and my friends, faves, and co-hosts you'll meet along the way. So, we talk a lot about relationships on this podcast. Granted, we're only 3 episodes in, but roll with me here, okay? We've spoken about our relationships with romance. We've spoken about our relationships with our friends. But today, I wanted to speak about our relationship with self, specifically on becoming. Now, if you're on my side of the internet, you'll be very familiar with the terms becoming the woman of your dreams or becoming her or even becoming that girl. And essentially what these phrases speak to is going from who you are now to the most ideal version of yourself, the best version of yourself, if you will. And I think the reason why these content pieces and these conversations resonate so much with people is it just comes down to, I mean, at least for me, taking a step back, looking at your life and being like, girl, there's, something's got to change. Either I'm not living to my fullest potential or there's just more to life than what I'm experiencing right now. And at that point, you're faced with the decision of, are you going to continue life as it is, or you're going to make a decision to change? And for me, obviously, the latter was done, but it was in that decision and in embarking on this journey that I realized that a lot of those conversations are missing an integral part and are quite surface level and don't really speak about the process, okay? The process that can be grueling, that can be stretching, beautiful in some aspects, but we just really miss talking about the cost that it comes at when you really decide to bridge that gap between who you are and who you want to be, who you are called to be. And that is why I really wanted to have this conversation today. And I'm so happy to be able to have it with a co-host who I just admire so much. She's so amazing. But you guys are going to understand why once we get into this conversation. But before that, let's introduce her. So I'm speaking about none other than Candice Modiselle. Candice is no stranger to our TV screens. If you're not familiar with her, let me introduce you to her. Candice is an actress, television host, and businesswoman, and she's also the founder of The 5 Minute Call, one of my absolute favorite YouTube channels that's dedicated to shining a light on young, talented South Africans in the film and media industry. So just by that, you guys can deduce that my girl is booked and busy. That being said, I'm so glad we still found a time to come sit on the couch and have a real conversation. It's so lovely to be able to see this new side of Candice, but also just be on the receiving end of a word, okay? You guys will understand what I'm talking about as we hop right in. So, let's do just that. This is the cost of becoming the woman of your dreams, according to Candice Modiselle. So, Candice.
Oh, so have we started?
We're starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm starting right now?
Right now.
Right now.
We're ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
AKA my best friend in my head. And I'm like so happy that the feeling was kind of mutual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because when I walked in, you are a realization of exactly who I thought you'd be.
Oh,
you are.
That's great.
You are. Like, you're actualized. It's like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I like her.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it's uncommon to meet people that you can relate to in that way, but you reached out to me on social media, and I was just like, what? Say when?
Yeah.
I think I may have literally said
No,
that.
you literally said that. I was like, whoa.
I was like, say
okay.
when. And then, I ghosted you.
No, you really did.
I did.
You
I was
did.
like, make her beg.
No, you know what?
No,
I was
kidding.
like, this is a teachable moment because one thing about me, I'm so impatient. And I was like, the Lord is like, Bukang, just wait. And I was like, okay, this is the perfect time for me to release control. Whenever Candice is ready, she'll come. And then one day I just saw, I was like, oh, wow, okay. So this is happening.
For what it's worth, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It took me like maybe a day or two to like fully reply and fully commit.
Yeah.
It's just that life has been lifing.
Yeah.
But when I did get to the moment, I was like, I'm going to be there. This is the time. This is the day.
Yeah.
100% all systems go. And the rest,
so
as I say,
glad.
is
I'm
history.
excited.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for seeing me worthy of your platform.
No, girl, please. The fact that you're here, it's like the biggest affirmation that like, okay, Bokang, this means something. And like for Candice to trust, to have her voice on your platform, I'm just like, okay, we're doing something good. We're on the right track here.
What would make you doubt that?
We're going to get into that.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. I love that
Yeah.
there's many layers to peel. And just like onions, there will be tears. There will be tears.
I'm going to try.
Maybe.
I'ma
I don't
try.
know. We don't know.
See.
We
We'll
don't know.
see. All right. So I wanted to start somewhere. It's kind of at the beginning, but also kind of right now. And it's something that I've noticed and I wanted to get to know from your side. So I've seen on your Instagram and even on the 5-minute call, you introduce yourself as Tumelo Candice Modiselle. Like we know you as Candice, but I'd love to know like, Tumelo, is that your first name? Like where's that, was there a change that you're like, actually I want people to know me as Tumelo, that's who I am.
Tumelo is my first name. Tumelo is my home name. And I just feel as though I am in the space in my life where I want to acknowledge the fullness of who I am and not walk around half-limbed, half-hearted, without my complete identity being acknowledged, especially as an African woman. Even though Candice is an African name, and that's what people don't know, Candice of Kush. Read your history if you want to read about Candice, the name.
Oh, wow.
There was a big part of me that was like, if I am walking with faith, let my name actually speak it, which Tumelo is faith.
Literally, yeah.
And it's also just my evolution and my redefining moment. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I've let go of Candice Modiselle. They're not separate entities, but in me fully encompassing everything that I come with. Now, less of Candice Modiselle, the actress and the presenter, and now fully Tumelo Candice Modiselle, the storyteller, the producer, the director, the author of my narrative, the change agent, the woman of God, the woman of gift. So it was also just a natural transition and progression, but a part of me didn't feel like it was honest for me to just go, hi, lovely meeting you, I'm Candice. It's like, actually, Tumelo, you know? It may have also been a projection from other people, because when I meet a lot of people, they say, okay, but what's your African name?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That happened,
okay.
gang. So many times. They'd be like, okay, what's your other name? And it's either I invalidate them and I was like, no, I'm Candice.
It's just Candice,
Or I
yeah.
just go, well, you're right. My first name is Tumelo. And then plenty of them would be like, okay, I'm going to call you Tumelo. So I was like, oh, might as well cut the conversation short and just tell you I'm Tumelo.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
actually,
let's
here's the
small talk.
full birth certificate.
Yeah.
Do you guys just want to see all the names?
Or
at
my
this
ID
point?
number,
Yeah.
940517, and then the rest.
And then the rest.
Yeah, I'm not going to give my full ID number on this.
But I really love what you said, especially like speaking about, African names and how we're not just named. A lot of the time, it means something. There's a meaning to it, like yours means faith, or, maybe there's a story behind it of why our parents named us this. And we were discussing it and we were like, yeah, Tumelo, it's so interesting that it does mean faith. And Candice is so like unapologetic and open about speaking about her faith. But also in your career, such an unconventional career path, it takes a great deal of faith to be like, I'm going to take the road less traveled, I'm gonna go after my dreams. And you're actually a realization of your faith, and you've become a manifestation of your name. And I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. On the faith topic, it's been a very big theme for the past 2 years, primarily because I feel like it's constantly being stretched. And in an industry that is so inconsistent, where there's so much uncertainty and so much doubt, all you can do is move in faith. And even with chats that I have at my Connect group, which is like a home cell, but we call it Connect, and it's a community of Christians, like-minded people, kingdom people, ambassadors of God who want to be the hands and feet of Christ, and to go out into the world and just be kindness, be love, be change. I mentioned to him that God can't do a new thing on old faith. And it's almost like that moment, I don't even know what it's called, I was going to say depot, when you take a plant out of, a pot that's, because the soil is starting to erode and the soil isn't as fruitful as what it used to be. I believe that I am fertile soil, but it can only happen when I place myself in new environments. And from that, the new environment and the new soil is faith. That I need to place myself in new faith so that new seeds can be planted, that new gifts can be deposited, that new fruits can be birthed from that. So those challenges of actually being unearthed, the unbecoming to become, is one of the most difficult things that you could go through, especially in an industry where everyone is fully accessible to your narrative, or maybe the narrative that they are aware of, where people feel like they can comment or have full reign and right to project whatever assumptions that they have of you, and to also criticize your journey. So it's difficult because I think people also forget that as entertainers, as storytellers, that we love this craft first. We may not necessarily love what it comes with. Sure. I loved acting first. I was 10 years old in love with being on stage. I don't love the access that people feel like they are entitled to have to me. And where I do feel okay to be vulnerable and authentically me, I will do that. But it's so unfortunate that there's some people who struggle so much, and to be in a world where they're trying to exercise their faith and still trust the journey and still but be so distracted by the noise and hurt by the world. It's a really, really difficult space. But if not for my faith and if not for the grace of God on my life and for his unique hand in the tapestry in my life, I don't know where I'd be. But yeah.
Guys, catch us again on Sunday for another sermon, for another
No,
preaching
stop.
with Pastor Tumelo, Candice Modiselle. Okay?
No, none of that. Yeah.
But like one thing you said, and I can totally relate to you, is that you're like, from the age of 10, you were acting, and it's really like it's a labor of love, This is your passion.
Emphasis on labor.
Emphasis on labor. So actually, before I even get into this question, I think from the outside looking in, it's so easy for people to look at you and be like, oh my gosh, Candice has made it, Candice is living her dream. And maybe you are, maybe you're not. You can tell us about that. But I'd love to know has your expectations for your dream, that 10-year-old who is like, I want to be on screens, I want to be performing, has it matched the reality of what you thought it would be to be in this industry, to be what you're doing?
How honest do you want me to be?
Girl, this is the place where we are
fully untapped.
Listen, yeah.
I'm currently standing in disappointment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I can't wait to look back on this episode and be so grateful. And why am I emotional now? I think there's been a lot of unfulfilled and ignorant expectation that I've had. Especially when your heart is so full of a love for an industry, a love for a call, a love for a craft. And it's so difficult to watch, firstly, young people, so much potential be deeply exploited. I fully on the receiving end of that. To see it be so commercialized, to see storytelling as a space of healing, as a space of transformation, a space of teaching, become so null, it's become so frivolous, so petty, so superficial. And I understand that, entertainment is a business first. But for those of us whose hearts are fully committed to it, to see the things happening in the entertainment industry right now is absolutely heartbreaking. And I come from a place of privilege because I'm within it. I can't imagine for someone who's trying to get in,
Yeah.
because it feels like the walls are caving in, the doors are not opening. No matter what they do, no matter how many doors they knock on, there's just no, they're not bearing any fruits of their attempts. But in where I am right now, I led with disappointment first. So I think my mistake, and I'll claim it as that, is that I always lead with gratitude. So let me say, I'm grateful. As much as in my tenderness right now, I can say I'm disappointed, I'm still grateful. I'm grateful that I'm fulfilling the dreams of so many seeds that were sown in my life so early, that I loved standing on that stage. And I may have not understood the technicalities. I may not even understood it as acting. I just knew that I was doing this thing and I want to stand on the stage, and I knew that there was more than love in it. There's something bigger. And knowing you're calling it 10 is very crazy, because you don't know it as such, but you just know
Yeah.
that it feels like home.
Yeah.
That it's foreign, because why am I doing all of this in front of an audience? But there's something that feels so familiar. And to know that 19 years later, I don't really say that I have a body of work that speaks to the true gift that I have, is a very difficult place to be in. It's almost like knowing that you're a magnificent makeup artist, but in the comfort of your bedroom. You know that you're a world-class filmmaker, but only on the smaller screens. You know that you have the capacity to teach, to mold, but the world's not listening. And I know my potential is massive.
Yeah.
I know the gift that I have as a storyteller. I also know that I'm so much more than my looks.
Yeah.
And that's where the disappointment also lies, despite the gratitude. And not to invalidate the gratitude, it's particularly tough when the roles that I feel like have the capacity to mold me, to challenge me, to unearth the gift of my storytelling, they don't look like me. It's always, Candice, we need a slay queen. Are you available? Candice, we
Damn,
need a
not
side
slay
chick.
queen.
Please send through. Yeah, yeah,
Really?
no.
Wow.
Over the past 2 years, a lot of the roles that
Yeah.
I've been approached for, that my agent gets, are always these very superficial, very one-dimensional, baseless, no character, no depth.
Yeah.
All we need you to do is walk across the screen and look beautiful and giggle, and it's just so boring. And
Yeah.
it's like, God, this is not me. I didn't commit to 4 years of my honors degree. I didn't commit to 19 years of the labor in love. I didn't commit to my consistent training and constantly offering myself offering myself as a living sacrifice. I didn't seek to do that only for the return on the investment to be clout. I don't do it for clout. I do
Yeah.
it for purpose. I do it for rehabilitation. I do it for passion. And sometimes it's not even doing it for a bigger reason other than for love. I do it because I love it. And I feel like a lot of the time it doesn't love me back, because
Oh.
of the systems in place, because of the superficial nature. And that's a very tough place to dabble in. But again, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I took the road less traveled. I'm grateful that I was able to shut out the noise of those who questioned the journey. I was a very academic kid, and I still am. I mean, I sound smart, so
Not just a pretty face.
not just a
Okay.
pretty face. But when you're a kid, you're a teenager, and you're a young person, and you have all these distinctions, and you're a diligent student, and you've walked that stage and gotten all these accolades and awards, and then you say you want to act. Everyone's like, but it doesn't take intelligence to act. It
Yeah.
doesn't take
Oh, that's so wasted.
craft. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I heard that a number of times, and I'm so blessed to have a mom who trusted me. She trusted me. Despite the various people that spoke into her life saying, ah, man, Tumelo ke lawyer, ke politician, ke. It's all of these things, all these projections of what success looks like on a black woman. And it didn't look like acting.
Yeah.
And ministry doesn't look like acting. And teaching doesn't look like presenting. It looks like every other profession. So, the long and the short of it is that I'm grateful.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. 2023, there's something massive coming. A body work I've already worked on.
Yeah.
But there's other things. I just know that this year is pregnant with so much potential. And I just have to see the growing pains all the way through.
The growing pains, like you can say that again. And I think I really resonated with part of your journey because I also studied acting at AFTA. So, yeah, I did stage and screen. So that's what I have my degree on.
That.
Girl.
Okay,
So
let's talk.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, like I said, very much had a similar experience to you, life experience, young age, always constantly performing, and very much knew that I was going to be a storyteller, whether it's on stage, whether, you know, it's writing. And I always knew that was my calling. And, you know, I can relate with the disappointment that you feel in the industry right now, just in the sense that because we know the potential of story and we know the talent that exists in South Africa, in that, like, we're not doing ourselves justice at all. But there's also opportunity in that. And I think that's what my journey has showed me. I always thought it would be going one specific way, going to graduate. After I graduate, you know, do a couple shows and then go to the Oscars. And it was completely different.
Yeah.
Guys,
yeah.
I'm not at the Oscars. I'm at the B-Word headquarters, though. But
Absolutely, which is synonymous with the Oscars.
listen, period.
Yes,
Thank you.
listen.
And I think that the kind of like the disappointment or the lack of, not the lack of, but rather the fact that my plans, my life didn't go according to how I planned it, I always thought was a punishment, but was actually a gift in that I always define myself in one way. And then I had to realize that I have to create my own opportunities. You know, if I'm really serious about this, I'm gonna, you know, have to now pick up a camera, learn how to do this, create the conversations, create the storytelling, and now be in a position of where instead of having my life and the opportunities of my career dictated, I have the power to actually do something about the problem that I see. You know?
And you have the authority.
There we go.
And you have the authority.
And so I also see a lot of that in you now that you're entering, you know, the director and producer side, especially because you are within the industry as well. You see what can happen and you've taken it upon yourself as, you know what, guys, I'm not going to be like just a victim to circumstance. I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, it is what it is. I'm going to do something about it. And yeah, just allow ourselves to really learn and go through that process and develop our voices as storytellers beyond just performance or beyond just what we know, and create your own roles, you know? They give you Slay Queen. I'm not a Slay Queen, but, you know, I'm going to create.
I'm a villain.
I'm a villain. I'm an alien. I'm like, I want to see the versatility.
Alien. Do you understand that I'm an alien?
You know?
But that's why I love animation. I love that I've led 2 international animations.
Wow.
And I love that it doesn't care, and maybe just both animation and theater as 2 different but very similar art forms, that they both serve the same purpose, and it's storytelling. They both serve that. They're not concerned about industry. They're not concerned about numbers. They're not concerned about those things. They just want to carry the message across.
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative that I've gotten to play in both spaces actively, because I had the full opportunity to put my ego down.
Yeah.
And to go, okay, let's put the gift out now. Let's play with the gift. And it's so generous. They're both such generous spaces. I miss theater so much. And animation is just amazing. I love it.
Girl, I'm just
I love it.
That just seems so fun because it's like play just at heart. You know, you're just in the booth and like you play around with the voice and it's like the art and the craft, but also like connecting with your inner child as well.
Also taking everything that made you weird and making it human, making it real, and making it money.
There we go. I think what I love is that, you know, we kind of both established the pretext of our lives and leading up to where we are now. But, I wanted to have this conversation with you about this idea of becoming the woman of your dreams and, self-actualized, who is Candice as her? There's this idea of like her is our best version of ourselves or whoever we're working towards. Can you like define that for us of where do you want to be?
I want to be everything and nothing.
Okay.
Everything that God has called me to be and nothing that I've called for myself. And that's very tough because we put so many ideas of ourselves, so many projections of the world ahead of who God has called us to be. So if I could get to a point where I strip myself completely of my own ego, completely of preconceived ideas of who I am, and I immerse myself fully in who God has called me to be, I'll be content. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe the full actualization of Tumelo Candice Modiselle isn't even an actress. And I have to get to a point where I'm open.
Yeah.
I have to get to a point where I'm okay with the evolution. I'm okay with the moment of redefining. I'm okay with the purge.
Sure.
I'm okay with having to grieve. Grieve versions of myself I no longer am. And that's probably one of the hardest things we're ever called to do as people, as young adults especially, who go, I'm going to chase this specific dream at this specific time with these particular results in mind.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't happen. And then we're mad at God and we're mad at ourselves and we're disappointed. And if I can get to a point where maybe it's even striking the happy medium of who I believe myself to be and who I know God has called me to be and finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the ultimate, the ideal,
Yeah.
the magical manifestation of Tumelo Candice Modiselle. Maybe that's who she is. But I know that she is a service woman.
Yeah.
I know
At the
that
core of it,
at
you
the
know
core of
that,
it,
yeah.
I love help. I love help. I don't love asking for it. Don't make me ask for help. But I
Just read my mind.
read my mind and offer.
There we go.
No, it's the wrong kind of help. I wasn't asking for that, but at least offer. And I know that I love working with young people.
Yeah.
I love young people. They sometimes drive us absolutely mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a young person myself, but youth ministry, I know there's some work to be done there, and I'm not there fully. But I know that God is taking me to that place. I know that service is where I need to be. I know that, man, world-class director
Yeah.
is perhaps I'm open. Perhaps who I need to be. A loving partner to my person,
Yeah.
which I'm doing quite a successful job thus far.
Listen, girl, we
In
love
Jesus'
it.
name, we're
Love
gonna
lives
keep
here.
it going. The full actualization of who I'm called to be.
But you know what I really appreciate about what you're saying, and is very different to what I thought you might answer or what people would generally answer to that, is that you're not attaching success or you're not attaching like your ideal vision of self to, I don't know, accolades or to material things, And the fact that you're like, I actually don't know, and it's not up to me, it's God. For someone like me who's a bit of a control freak and wants to know like where everything is, that seems like such a freeing place to be, and also so exciting because the adventure that lies ahead of you, you're just like, listen, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna discover. And life is so long, and in that we often think we're just meant to do one thing, we're meant to be one person.
Yeah.
But in speaking to like my parents, older family members, it's like these people have lived so much in their lives. They've done so many different things. You have the opportunity to live different lifetimes within this one lifetime.
Absolutely.
So like just give yourself to that process. And I'm actually taking that. I'm like, Bokang, you know what? I mean, up till now, things really haven't gone according to plan. So you might as well just like roll with it now, you know?
Just roll with the punches. And
Yeah.
to give ourselves permission to evolve
Oh my gosh.
is quite a big ask, but it's necessary. And I wasn't always like this. If you asked me this question probably a year ago, my answer would be, quite different because much like many of us, we have a vision board. We go, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying don't dream. I'm not saying have contentment without ambition. They can coexist. So I don't want us to ever get to a point where you're like saying, okay, God, take me where you want to go without agency and autonomy,
Yeah.
or without action. Because I think faith without works is dead. So I'm not in any way advocating for us to become complacent because we're saying, oh, the author of my life, the finisher of my faith, you can do all things.
Yeah.
But we should be active. We should be proactive in our own dreams, in our own chasing of our dreams. And yeah, I think for me, it's really exposing myself to new environments, new spaces. It's only when I started wearing my hat once again as a director, because I used to direct adverts in theater, which is completely different to what I do now as an actress in TV. They feel like two different exercises, but you really utilize the tools of one to amplify the other and vice versa. They coexist in a beautiful way. But to even echo the same sentiments of what you were saying, that the more we expose ourselves to new things and you go, I'm just gonna go with the flow, but maybe I should like go to a museum and see what could be unearthed in that space. Maybe I should go see this, go see that, and just broaden our horizons. If you're blessed enough to go see another country and expose yourself to new cultures and people, there's a new seed that gets planted and deposited in every single experience. And that's how we then a year later go, I think I'm an architect. You see, it's moments like that. So
Yeah.
open yourself up and open without complacency. Open yourself with an attitude of gratitude, but also with an attitude of being an open vessel, eager to learn, eager to engage, and eager to evolve always.
Sure. I really love how you just kind of really encouraged us to just open yourself up to life, and the different possibilities that are out there for you. I want to know, like, just in your journey, because, as much as we can speak about really just going out there, being curious, being like, just having fun and dreaming big, when you actually get into the process of yeah, of doing and committing to the journey and doing what it takes to get to where you want to be, or like letting the journey unfold, there are again, the expectations and the reality doesn't always match.
Yeah.
I want to know from your side, what has the process actually looked like? Because people are just saying trust the process, but I'm like, what is the process? Yeah.
Oh, is this in relation to my career or just relation to self?
Both, I think, because we are speaking about holistically, careers are aspirations, but also in terms of like who we want to be as women.
Trusting the process. It's ugly. It's so ugly.
I'm so glad you said that.
It's funny because it's what we spoke about at the beginning. Trusting the process is also knowing that things won't always flow. They're flowing in our favor. But trusting the process also means that you have to be open to waiting, and to still work while you wait.
Yeah.
I'm in a season of my life now where I'm working. I'm working on a body of work that I absolutely love with my whole heart, the 5 minute call.
Yeah.
But I'm also waiting for the breakthrough that I know I deserve. So trusting the process means that I'm still going to be active. I'm still going to be proactive. I'm still going to serve in whatever way. I'm still going to learn. But the things that are meant for me will come. They
Yeah.
will come.
Yeah.
But you won't find me where you left me. You won't find me there. You won't find me with the same set of skills that you left me with. You won't find me with the same level of intelligence and insight, knowledge, and wisdom that you left me in, because I'm going to give myself time to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep teaching myself. I mean, it's the things like I still go to classes. Like people assume that,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's a real actor. You keep the instrument consistently oiled.
I still go to classes. That's a major thing. Like especially with like an animation audition, I especially go to classes for that. To to make sure that I'm a well-oiled machine in every way, because we do become complacent, we develop habits, we become bored. So to keep myself excited, I do that. Trusting the process means that you remain teachable. people think that trusting the process, it's like what we said earlier on, what I mentioned, that it means complacency. It means that, sure, also realistic expectation is tough.
Yeah.
Creating realistic expectation.
Especially for a dreamer.
Yeah.
I think.
Because also, dreams are not realistic.
Yeah.
A dream is a dream because it is hyper realistic. Because it goes against the grain of what is perceivable. What is like, okay, I could see myself doing this tomorrow. You can't. That's why it's a dream. That's why you need to work in order to do that. That's why you need faith in order to realize it. Oh my word, trusting the process. Oh, she's a raggedy girl, that one.
She is so raggedy.
She is so tough because she dangles carrots.
She does. And you think, oh, I've reached my breakthrough.
You feel like
this
you've
is
reached the
start.
pinnacle.
But it's just, often there's this idea of like, a green light. In that, the process, you can, I'm dead and you're laughing. Did you think that carrot is like, yes, I have been mining and I finally reached the goal? But no, darling, it's not the gold. But it is showing you that you're on the right direction and keeping you like, motivated to continue. But often the road is just going to get a little harder,
Yes.
Yeah, and you need those to just kind of keep that motivation there. Otherwise, you'd give up.
You know what it also is? Romanticizing the process. To romanticize your life and to appreciate exactly where you are.
Yes.
Exactly where you are.
Sure.
I remember in my Connect group, I can't remember exactly who said it, but it was so powerful because they said that in the moments where you forget or you don't trust that God is working in your life, just remember. Just remember, take a moment to remember the things that he has done, the things that have happened, things that he's taken you through, the fact that you graduated, the fact that you made it through that sickness, the fact that your family member got prayed over and they made it through, the fact that you made it home safely, the fact that you have food in your stomach, that you have 5 rand in your account and not 0. It's those little things to be grateful for. Trusting the process is also gratitude. It's an act of obedience, but also an act of gratitude. It encompasses so many things. It encompasses the faith. It encompasses the gratitude. It encompasses the diligence and the work. And to also create community. I think one of the biggest mistakes or one of the biggest lies that we've been led to believe is that we thrive better as individuals. We have an educational system that kind of endorses that. If you think about it, it's your marks, it's your test that you're writing on your own, your exams, you graduate, your student number in the system. And then you got into the world and you realize that it's all collaboration.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, it's all, more than anything, emotional intelligence. And then also collaboration. And those are 2 things that we are never really introduced to, or things that aren't emphasized in the 12 formative years of our lives in education, cognitive years where our entire character is being molded and formed. And you got into the world and you don't even know how to collaborate, and then you become an island. And trusting the process means that I need to trust my process on my own.
I'd love to know, like, on the topic of the raggedy process, because I'm deep within mine and I'm fighting every day. I'm fighting.
Hands.
But I think we also, it's the resistance and the challenges that we face also breeds character growth, and character growth, or just reveals parts of ourselves that we may not have known existed, good or bad. I'd love to know, like, what have you learned about yourself in the process, or what version of Candice have you seen that you either need to unlearn or that you need to continue to build on?
A year ago, I started over. I started from scratch because I'd already seen facets of who I was becoming that was steering me away from my destiny.
Sure.
And that was someone who was rooted in people pleasing. And I found myself compromising my principles, my values, my morals, not in the most extreme ways. Sometimes it's the way that you speak to people that changes. And again, it's not extreme things. Sometimes it's that little pinch of judgment, that little I want to be like the cool kids. it's hard to believe that I would be in a place where, and I found myself there. I found myself in spaces of people living so freely, but they were living freely because they weren't grounded in anything that required them to be better than what they actually were. If you're comfortable with mistreating people, if you're comfortable with living a very superficial, flesh-driven life, and I don't say flesh-driven in the most Christian way, but we can live a life that's just based purely on how do I feel? How does it make me feel?
Yeah.
How does it make me look? And I found myself in so many spaces that reeked of that. And, wearing less, going out more. And that's fine. And that's fine. I don't criticize myself and I don't judge myself for being in that place, because I was still getting to meet who I am and all the colors of the woman that I'm becoming. So I started seeing that. I started seeing myself going against the things that I knew were right, my daily practices, throwing out the routine, sleeping in longer, betraying my health, hanging around people that didn't actually see me, because at least, I don't have to do the work of truly getting to know myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to do the work of looking at myself in the mirror and seeing my flaws. Because if I'm in a community of people that, and I mentioned it just now, that, we give ourselves the false sense of community because we're all currently going through the waves and the current of life with no autonomy. I started seeing those sides of myself, and I was just like, this isn't right. There's so much more to me than worldly pursuit. There's so much more to me than wanting to be liked by people, by feeling like I haven't accomplished enough, because I'm comparing myself against everyone else in the industry. And once I found myself in that place, it was so important for me to take myself out of that. And it means surrender, it means sacrifice. I started off with fasting. I then stopped eating meat for a bit. Emphasis on for a bit, sis.
She's like, we back.
We're back.
All right.
We're back.
Back to regular programming.
Absolutely. But I stopped frequenting places that I knew I didn't like.
Yeah.
Like, why are
Why
you
am
there?
I here? When you're out and you just realize.
You know you want to go home. You know you want to be home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know that you don't relate to those people. You know this relationship isn't going to work. You just know.
Oh, you do.
It's dulling and it's dumbing your intuition and going that, well, I'm going to live in the present moment of being liked by these people because their validation is far important than my own. Because at least it's certain. It's coming from a place of they show me that they like me. They show me, and they may not like me for the right reasons. They might like the access they have to me. They might like the way I make them feel. They might not necessarily like me and everything that I come with. And maybe they like me, but they don't like the responsibility that comes with being my friend.
Yeah.
The responsibility that comes and the expectation that comes with being my partner.
Damn.
They like the surface level. And I was tired of surface living. I was so bored. So bored. And when you get to a point with yourself and you start to go, okay, I'm digging deeper, you start to see the flaws in others, and not in a judgmental, condescending way. But then you go, you actually don't speak to me with kindness. Or why are you always reminding me of the person that I was? Give me the room to become.
Yes.
Why are you holding me to the identity that I can no longer relate with? Why are you encouraging me to do things that I no longer like? Why? Okay, I don't want to go to the club. What do we do now?
No, we don't even have anything in common.
I don't want to drink anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and that was a big thing for me as well when it came to my moment of humbling. That I was like, and I've never been like a huge drinker ever. But I would occasionally be like, okay, I'm gonna take a couple of shots, and I knew I didn't want to.
And you didn't want to, yeah.
I knew I didn't want to, and it's not to insinuate that I don't drink at all. There will be those celebratory moments, or those moments where I go, a sip of this or that, cool. But now because we're out there and everybody's like, shots, and you're just like, okay, maybe I'm too rigid. Let me have a little more fun. People pleasing.
You compromise yourself.
People pleasing. So, I mean, that's all coming down to getting to a point where I was living for the validation of others and not for the truth of who I am. And that's another difficult place. People, and we all get stuck in the people pleasing. Again, school, you're constantly wanting to make people like you. You want to do well academically. You also still want to be cool. You want to be the rebel, but you also want to be diligent. You want to be all of these things. And who dictates those things for you? Everyone except you. And then you have parents who have these expectations that they project on you. And then it's like, when do I get to define what makes me happy? What feels right for me? What is true to my journey? That only ever happens in our 20s. It
Yeah.
literally only ever happens there, because everything else and all the environments that we're in and the people we're surrounded with have authority over us, or a perceived idea of authority over us, that we never get to have authority over our own lives.
Sure. And I'm sure like when you make that decision for yourself, often it gets like isolating. And yeah.
I had no friends for a bit. No, I did.
But it just speaks to like the pruning process, you know, cutting off those leaves or those people that just don't feed into you anymore. And sometimes you're just going to have to deal with either the loneliness of making the decision that's best for you. And it could be loneliness, it could be any other kind of what's consequence of that. But you also need to develop a strength and a conviction enough to be like, I'm going to get through this, or I'm going to, where I'm going or where I need to be, and the real me is worth what I'm going through right now, to let go of the old.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, because in your voice note yesterday, you said something really interesting.
Oh no, what did I say?
You said that you mentioned your relationship with failure. And yeah, I just want to like just learn and hear a little bit more about that, because, you know, as we're growing, as we're going, especially in this defining decade, as we're trying new things, and as we don't necessarily get the results that we want, or, you know, XYZ, failure becomes a friend, you know, or becomes someone that we know very well. What's your relationship with failure right now? And like, also, how do you deal with like that when you're just like, I want to give up, especially as a big dreamer, like as an ambitious person?
I feel like I'm going to repeat a lot of the things that I've said.
Okay.
Failure, our good old friend.
Good old friend.
Failure.
Yeah.
I think I probably have played it safe. I think I've played it safe in many ways. I remember saying to a cast member once that I'm brilliant at the bare minimum.
Oh, aren't we all in our comfort zone?
In our comfort zone. Absolutely diligent. Ask me to do it and I will do it well. If you have to ask me twice, then it's just like, I think I doubted myself the first time you asked me.
Yeah.
So maybe the failure is more the relationship with the self-doubt. So because before I get to a point of the attempt, I have to combat and overcome the doubt. And that relationship is a difficult one first, because I don't know. It's almost like jumping off. I said not. Let me say jumping off a cliff. That's a little bit awkward. That's like,
Yeah.
but it's like jumping. Let me just say jumping
Okay.
in general. Just jumping.
Okay.
Having the courage to jump, not knowing if it's going to be a soft landing, if you're going to land on a beanbag, if you're going to land on a trampoline. You don't know how you're going to land. But what you do know is that the glory moment and your purpose and your destiny is rooted in the suspension, is in the jump. So the courage to do that,
Yeah.
and overcoming the self-doubt in order to do that, becomes the hard part. Then the realization that it didn't come to fruition is the inevitable disappointment.
But it's also not the end of the world, I think.
It's not. So maybe, I think for me, it's not necessarily a relationship with failure, but a redefining relationship with self-doubt and disappointment. And that's an ongoing relationship that I think right now, more than anything, I'm trying to soften it for myself, to soften the parts of my heart that have hardened, to courage. Let go. Okay, I might play it safe again. I'm go into the corner of comfort again, because, you know, I jumped and I got hurt, or I jumped and I learned a very hard lesson. So maybe if I don't jump, I won't learn the hard lessons, you know.
That's the trick. Like
Just don't jump. Just stay down.
Yeah, my one friend once said, "It's like aim low to avoid disappointment." I was like, "That is horrible advice, but it makes sense."
It makes
makes
sense.
sense.
It makes sense, but how could we
But
ever
it's not
be dreamers?
fulfilling. You know what I mean?
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And living a life of the bare minimum is not what we are called to do. You know, we want a life of abundance. We want a life of excitement, of the chase, of passion. You know, passion is a beautiful thing to have.
Yeah.
Do you remember being passionate? Or do you think you're still passionate?
I'm refinding my passion. I'm reigniting my passion. I think similarly to you, I've been in a place where I'm very comfortable. And even in the work that I do, it's kind of just been like, I can do this like the back of my hand. Like, I don't need to really exercise any other parts of me. And yeah, that really informed the beginning of this journey. I was like, Bokang, actually, there's more to life than where you are right now. You have done yourself a disservice, but in many ways you've shrunken the potential of who you could be by just staying here. And it's good. You're getting praised for it.
Yeah.
And you are making change and impacting people. But you know that you have so much more, and that lies on the other side of comfortability. So, and that's why I was like, okay, we need to kind of like reinvent, get a little uncomfortable, figure out how we can like still have the same purpose, still, you know, affect change and do what we want to do the same way, but in a way that's a bit more exciting, in a way that speaks to who I am right now, and that'll challenge me. And I think, you know, with those aspects of uncomfortability, it starts to reignite the passion again and the excitement of doing what I do, you know, and learning from people, like engaging like this. I'm just like, yo, Candice, like the fact that she just seems like, wow, goals, I want to get there, you know?
And maybe that's why I also struggled with your question around failure, because I don't recognize failure as an aspect in my life. If anything, people have a relationship with failure where it's far too definitive. So the minute it happens, it's a character flaw.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I am a failure. No, this just happened. And that's why I'm like, I don't even say I failed. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So to say I failed at this moment, this is a failure. It's no, this is just another way to not do it. Or this is an alternative way to do it, but not one that reaped the fruits and the reward of what I was hoping for. So that is what failure is. Failure, the illusion that failure exists is problematic. I don't prescribe to the notion that failure is a destination, that failure is a life-altering event. It can be a life-altering event in a way where it redirects you to where you need to be, but it will never be enough to deter you from your path completely. You're never too far gone.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's about also just changing your perspective when it comes to things. For me, how I've reconciled my relationship with failure is just seeing it as a data point. It just gives me information of, okay, this didn't work out, then I need to change course. I need to figure out how to do it another way or to do something else. But don't take it personally. It's not an indication of your self-worth or that you don't have talent because you didn't get the part or because, you know, X, Y, Z. Just change direction, just like rejection.
Yeah, it's a comma. It's literally a comma in the sentence.
There we go.
Candice, I want to talk about healing, right?
Why would you do that? I cried 5 minutes into the interview.
Yeah, no, this is the perfect time. So we're warming up for this moment right here. Because I think I personally am having a very interesting relationship with healing, and probably a lot of people can relate as well, especially if you're on a journey. And especially like we just mentioned, you know, we're in our late 20s and really coming into ourselves, but also just seeing parts of ourselves that we're like, oh girl, this needs to be addressed, right? However, yes, you've taken up the responsibility to be like, okay, I'm going to do the work, unpack. The unpacking never stops. But do you think there's ever a moment where unpacking, there's like such a thing as too much unpacking, where we become obsessed with the idea of healing and not living and being?
That's precisely what I was gonna say. If you asked me about healing, without foregrounding what you said there, I would have said that sometimes leave the wound alone. Touch it when you need to, but leave it alone. Because I'm glad that we've come into a space of wanting to have conversations about healing and unpacking and triggers and traumas and inner child healing and shadow healing, all of those things. But because it's become commercialized, because there's been such huge emphasis over it, it has become an obsession because why do we feel like we always need fixing? A lot of us have come to a point where we can't even relate in a very authentic and real way because we feel like there's something deeper to that moment. And I don't want to be dismissive and saying it's not that deep, but sometimes it really isn't. And we need to come to a point where we can find the happy medium, where we can find the middle of I can heal in this space, I do need to heal in this space, but I'm content in where I am and I appreciate where I am. And it's also finding the gratitude of saying, I have brokenness. I've experienced brokenness. I've experienced trauma. And it's not a complete defining thing about me. It's part of my narrative, but it doesn't make me who I am. It's just like the people who walk around with a victim complex, consistently self-victimizing, constantly in a space where you wouldn't understand me because I've gone. It's like, it's not your character.
Yeah.
And it's not your story. It's only part of it. So I can hope we get to a point, and I hope for anyone who's watching this, can get to a point where they give themselves permission to live beyond their trauma, to live beyond their brokenness, to live beyond the story, to live beyond who people said that they were and said that they're not. And that they put down the journal for a moment and they hold up the mirror. And hold up the mirror and see who you are, see the fullness of who you are, not who you were, not who they said you couldn't be, or don't look up at the mirror and see the flaws and the cracks. Look at someone who is uniquely made in the image of God, who has so much ahead of them. And yes, I'm sorry that it happened. I'm sorry for all the moments that stole your light. But wood still burns, that your brokenness, there's still pieces there that can be salvaged. And just take a moment to look at them. Take a moment to look in the broken mirror. Your reflection is still there. Yeah. You're still there. And I love how you asked it. I love that you mentioned that. It's fine, leave the wound. Leave it. Leave it. Not everything is a teachable moment. Not everything is a moment to transform your character for the good. It's like the fact that sometimes God does things in your life for His glory. And that's crazy to imagine because it's like, you would let me go through that just so that I could share a testimony on who you are?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. But it also is like some things can be in vain. That's literally what it means, that some things can almost be in. It's not a moment to transform or what. It's just go, oh God, you're still good. Okay, anyway, moving on. And then you move on, moving on. That's it.
Yeah.
Even with when you look at is it the hyphen or the dash? So your birth date and your death date, it's that line in the middle. I don't know if it's a hyphen or a dash. It's that one in the middle.
We all know.
I think it's a hyphen.
Yeah.
It's continuous. So your life is that line. It's your lifeline. That moment is the lifeline. What are you doing in the middle of it?
Yeah.
And if your entire lifeline is committed to looking in the rearview mirror and thinking of all the things you could have changed and all the brokenness that you want to fix, you're never going to get to live in the present moment.
Sure.
And you don't get to be the self-fulfilling prophecy of the person in the future. It's always going to be I could be this. I could be confident, but this broke me. I could be this, but this hurt me. I could be more available to loving you, but they hurt me.
Yeah.
When do you get to live there?
Even this hindsight thinking, when you're permanently in the past, sometimes being present is the healing moment. I realize that for myself now because people, myself even, cheat themselves out of love, relationship, out of the fullness of experiencing other people because of certain levels of brokenness and this idea that I need to be perfect, I need to be healed, I need to be complete in order to make myself available to other people. I'm not saying that go in with an empty cup and expect other people to fill you to the brim. No. But from experience, I speak that from experience that I am in the height of love, experiencing the height, let me not say height because it can get higher. Like
Oh,
the
yes.
length, the depths, and the breadth of the love that I'm feeling and experiencing now came at a very broken place in my life. Came from a place of extreme doubt, from a hardened heart, from many questions, but I went in with faith. If I was so fixated on, I need to go to therapy, I need to go, and that's what I did. I'd stopped going to therapy for a bit. But when I'd seen how much this relationship challenged me to step into myself, then I was like, okay, maybe one more therapy session, maybe one more. And my therapist said, jump.
Sure.
That's literally what she said, jump. And I was so concerned about molding, fashioning, and perfecting my character for this person. And she was like, just jump. You've got a parachute. And the parachute is everything, my faith. The parachute is my hope. The parachute is my love. The parachute is everything that I've been holding back out of fear that it wouldn't be reciprocated. And I can't imagine how many people are and how many individuals, and I don't only speak for women, I can't imagine how many people have cheated themselves out of just goodness. And it's the courage to take that job on. It's the courage to stand up and do that presentation, to pitch to that client, to confront that colleague, to write that letter. It's that invitation to expand on who you are. But now you don't want to do it because you're so busy fixing. When if you were just present, you would be given the tools to heal. Those tools, the appreciation, the validation that you're looking for in the person you once were. So it's also going that the voice that I didn't have back then, I want to speak for her then. No, speak for yourself now. Speak for who you are right now. Don't try to salvage, or don't try to overcompensate for the courage you didn't have. Acknowledge the courage that you have now in the present moment. And that will also be the courage that you need and the faith that you need that will take you to the next place that you're going to. What happened, happened. And again, I'm not invalidating that. I'll never do that. I've experienced my brokenness. I've experienced great trauma. But if I was so fixated on righting the wrongs of the past, I wouldn't be able to live in the present moment. And that's one of the biggest betrayals that we could have for ourselves and commit to ourselves, is not see what's right in front of us.
Yeah. Yo, guys. Yo. This is such a full circle moment for me, I think, because I needed to hear this. That person that you said, like the person who's cheated themselves out of, good things, or, just felt like I can't jump. I can't take that leap because there's like just so much baggage that I'm still holding on to. And I want to be able to jump with the perfect bag, or know how to handle that when the contents of that baggage comes out, and that's what I've been struggling with. And I was like, I'm struggling to actually live in the present. I'm not fully happy because all I'm doing is constantly over analyzing, and constantly like shutting things out and pushing things away. Whereas life is meant to be lived, and a big part of the healing is that you need to be able to apply what you've learned.
Yeah, in the
present moment.
And in addition to even living in hindsight and, past, is also living in the future. And we don't know the sabotage that we bring to ourselves when we constantly think of the end in mind. And when you think of the end in mind in reference to things that have happened in your life, you already sabotage yourself, because you go, well, in that relationship, it ended like this. Well, in that endeavor, it ended like this. If you commit to being present in the here and the now, the ending could always be different, but you won't know until you commit, until you apply yourself in this present moment. And those moments were there to give you lessons. It's not overrated when people say God will give you the same lesson, will give you the same experiences until you learn the lesson.
Yeah.
You will get that lesson, my child. You will get it. You'll get
You
that
really will.
experience. You really will get that experience over and over and over again until you go, okay, what is this moment trying to teach me? Okay, bet. And then you apply that until you set boundaries. And boundaries that's another conversation.
That's a whole nother thing.
Setting boundaries,
Yeah.
applying those boundaries,
Yeah.
and committing to those boundaries and validating those boundaries. A life changer.
But yeah, at the end of the day, you have to practice, you have to live, and you'll never be perfect. In the same way, like, as we, in this journey of becoming, of being, of wanting, you'll never have a destination. It's a constant journey.
Ever.
So the best thing we can do for ourselves is actually just learn to live in the moment and do our best. Do our very best. Wow. I think we've had like such an incredibly profound conversation. We have. And it was lovely having you here.
I
And
wanna
I'm
say,
just like,
oh my gosh, I should say some funny things sometimes. I'd be so deep sometimes.
you're like, no, but you're like me too. Especially you're like, oh, crying in the club. I was like, so what's your childhood trauma?
Yeah.
That's so me. But
Gonna be doing Tobeta, doing TikTok challenges to our brokenness.
hey,
It's
you
like,
know.
hey man,
But okay, I want to end off with lightening the mood, like you said.
let's
Lighten the mood.
Yes.
We're gonna do a little final five, a little quiz. Build your dream life. We're gonna give you certain scenarios, a couple options, and you tell us which one you're gonna pick.
I'm gonna try to get straight to the point with some of these because I can waffle, girl.
Girl,
Okay.
but that's why we have a podcast, okay? So this episode is going on 3 hours, I think,
Oh yeah,
estimating.
it's not 7. Damn, that's crazy. I was
I
aiming
know it's
for
quite
more.
short, but we'll just give him the teaser.
This is
to
part
the final
1.
thing. To a 7-part series.
I love it.
All right, so Candice, we're building your dream life, okay? So, in context of where would you like to live, or what would be your ideal place to live? A, in the center of a big city. B, by the sea. Or C, in a picturesque village.
The center of a big city.
Really?
Yeah, shout out to capitalism one time.
Fast-paced girl.
Yeah, I also just love connecting with people, and you have greater access to people through that. A village is too remote, and the sea, I can't swim.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shout out to black stereotypes too.
They won this one.
They won that one.
Stereotypes
Damn, that's
1,
crazy.
us 0. All right, so pick the thing that's most important to you. 1, always living close to family. 2, getting time to read, watch films, see art, feed your inner creative self. Or 3, having an adventure. You can only pick one.
Close to family.
You are a family person.
I am.
Yeah.
Ew. Yeah.
The sisters. I'm very high-key jealous that
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
sisters. I don't even have one sister.
Wait, you're an only child?
No, I have an older brother
Oh, so you're an only child.
and a younger brother.
Jokes.
Yeah, might as well be.
No, kidding.
But I'm the only
kidding.
girl though, so checks out. Okay, next one. Pick your dream mode of transport. So in this big city. Or, okay, clearly not in this big city because this is not going to make sense.
Is there a
But
boat?
private jet. I was like, private jet, a car, or biking around?
I once wanted a bike, and my mom said she's not buying me a coffin on wheels, so she's killed that dream.
Yeah.
So a car, I guess.
Okay.
I also only got my first car a year ago. So you see,
Really?
not rushing the process.
I love that.
People think, oh, you on a SOP, you're at the peak. I was taking taxis during Generations. Not my entire time.
Did you also just learn to drive or?
Yeah. No, I'd learned. I was really fearful of driving, like super fearful.
Same.
Super. But we've come out on the other side shining. We're good.
Hey, amen.
Yes, shout out to
So
the
that's
endorsements that are
inspiration
coming
for you, girl. You gonna get that license.
up. Show me what's again, please. Show me, please, to anyone. Like, get your license.
Get your license.
No, seriously. Also, because there's certain things we feel like are unattainable, like going on holiday, getting a license. Like, oh, that's for them. It's for you too. Get a license. Get a passport.
There we go.
No, seriously. I don't know who's watching this. Get a passport.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Who would you rather spend the rest of your life with?
Oh man.
My man.
Oh, is my mom in there?
A life partner, family, or friends?
I'm not gonna choose.
I know. Because this one's personal. They might be watching. They're like, who is she going to be?
You know who you are.
You know.
All of them know who they are.
She's like, I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
I can't. No.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh,
You
no.
need them all. And it's nice
And
when
they're
they
all
can
my
all
friends.
be in one.
I can say my friends because they're all my friends.
Okay, there we go.
Mom's my friend, my
Mom,
sister's my friends.
bae, sister.
Yeah, everyone.
Y'all are
I'm my own
friends.
friend. Yeah.
I love that.
Jesus is my friend too.
And our last one, because it's the B word, pick your dream ideal girls' night out. Are you having movie, cinema, dinner, and the club? Or is it a girls' night in vibe, games, takeout, and a rom-com? Or trying to mix it up a little, doing a night market, ice cream, and taking a walk by the beach? These are all nice. I want to do
I
all
want
of
to do
them.
all of them. I think it's a weekend away doing every single one of them.
Perfect answer.
I'm sorry, I chose option D, but that's the one that's going.
Another addition to option D is that I'm coming with you. So there
It
we
says
go.
with your friends. You were
Period.
invited to begin with.
True,
You just didn't write
true.
Bokang. Come
Of
on.
course, yeah, I don't want to be on the nose. We did establish
Yeah.
you are my best friend in my head, so I'm there. I'm there.
Can't be too obvious. Leave them hanging.
But Can, it was so lovely having you on the B word. Hey, you spoke. You hit me right here, and I'm sure you definitely did so much for all the other people listening. You're truly walking in your purpose. Beautiful inside and on the outside too. If anyone's watching and they're like, I need to see more of Candice, where can they find you? Please let them know.
So firstly, I am barely on Twitter. Barely. What a weird little place. But you can follow me at Candice Modiselle, CandiModiselle. I'm on Instagram, Candice Modiselle, so it's full name or full second name and surname. CandiceModiselle. And on YouTube, because I very courageously decided that I'm going to dabble in that space. And it is the 5-minute call. So the 5-minute call with Candice Modiselle. And of course, keep watching the B Word. Stay tuned. It's amazing. She's amazing. I love it here. I'm not leaving. This is part 1 of our 7-part series.
Keep an eye out for part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And 8. Okay, guys. That's a wrap. We done.
Amazing. Thank you.
Oh man, it is time for the afterthoughts, and I've just got to say, for the first time in my whole lifetime, I got nothing to say. Your girl is speechless. And I think that's good. Sometimes you just gotta keep quiet, sit back and reflect on that whole conversation. So if anything, I'm passing the mic now to you guys to let me know what you thought. So please, in the comments, if you're watching this on YouTube, let's have a conversation. Where in this journey are you? Are you deep within with us? Are you in the trenches? Are you at the very beginning? Are you considering taking this journey? Or you just, maybe you're on the other side. Maybe you are on the other side of a becoming journey and you have quote unquote arrived. I would absolutely love to know from all of you. Give us a little bit of hope. And yeah, guys, we'll see you very soon. If you want to just keep up to us on the other socials, check us out at the B-word_ZA on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the socials. And for myself, if you want to connect with me at She Is Bokang. Otherwise, you can find me here, same time, same place. Well, maybe not same time, but definitely same place in the next episode of According to B. Bye.